Karen now will share her story from startup to diversification, the value of heavenly cookies. Judith is the founder and the chief executive officer and the winner of the prestigious Enterprising Woman of the Year Award in her business classification for 2011. She is a 2008 recipient of the United States Chamber of Commerce Blue Ribbon Small Business of the Year Award. She is truly an inspired entrepreneur, an enterprising woman who has used an array of skills from a multifaceted, boundaryless career to successfully brand and market the cookies from the company she founded. She will share some special branding techniques for her heavenly cookies.
Thank you, thank you so much for allowing me to be part of this. I really appreciate that I have the opportunity to address educators in entrepreneurship. I didn't even know until I took the Kaufman Foundation course that there was such a program that people actually study entrepreneurship. And the one thing that I haven't seen in all of those books out there is one called Too Dumb to Quit, which is one I'm going to write when I decide to retire. My background is as I've been worked in the stock market in the 70s. I have been a marriage and family therapist, a psychotherapist, and I run a nonprofit, and then I started this. So I think that there's something that probably speaks to a certain insanity that has to be part of being an entrepreneur, and that is that you have to be willing to put yourself out there on the line as a risk taker to make sure that what you're doing will succeed. And even if you are a risk taker and you have that personal quality, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work. As Bill said, luck plays a great deal, a big part of it. 8 years ago, I went on a quest for the perfect chocolate chip cookie. I've always been a hobby baker. I love to bake. I love to share cookies with people. I was going to throw cookies out, but I'm going to chuck them out. But I decided that it should better be a little less out there. So anyway, 8 years ago, I went on a quest for the perfect chocolate chip cookie, and I couldn't find a recipe that I liked, and so I wound up making my own. And that Christmas, I went to visit my kids who live in Nashville, and my son-in-law told me about a company there that grossed $9 million the previous year, and that got my attention. That was a really nice number. So I came home after Christmas and found that there was no Charleston cookie company at that point. And the first thing I did was grab the name, because at that time, Charleston was the 7th most popular tourist destination in the country. It is now number 3. So I'm really glad that I was able to get the name. And then I started to do research. And those of you who are educators know the important thing about being an entrepreneur is that you've got to have a business plan. And the thing that strikes me as so stunning is the number of people who do start small businesses without one. And I have found that it has served me well to have some structure to what I was doing. So I spent almost a year at the library researching, and then I worked with SCORE, and I had the great good fortune to encounter a SCORE counselor. You all know what SCORE is? Yeah, okay. To encounter a SCORE counselor who was good at numbers. Because my background is graphic arts. I grew up with a camera in my hand. I'm a photographer by love and a shrink. So I'm a global concept. I've had Excel on the desktop of my computer for as long as I've had a computer, but never opened it. I have no idea what. And numbers make my head hurt. They're too small. They make me bleed from the eyes. But Greg said to me when I went Christmas after I discovered that there was no Charleston Cookie Company. I, under the radar, DHEC didn't know about it, baked, packed, and delivered 220 dozen cookies in 14 days, all by myself, just as a test to see if it would work, to see if people would buy them, if my cookie was really something that was saleable. And because I lived by myself, I could get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and crank up the tunes and set up a production, and I really had a production line going. I had so much fun doing this that after on the 13th day, a friend of mine called me from Jacksonville, and Celeste said, I need 15 dozen of your cookies. Can I get them? I said, Celeste, if you want to come up here and pick them up, they're yours. So she drove up from Jacksonville, and on the 21st of December, I gave her her 15 dozen cookies, and she drove back to Jacksonville, and I went upstairs and blew bath and fell asleep, exhausted, but I had had the time of my life, baking cookies and selling them to people. People actually wanted to buy my cookies. So then I went to school, and the reason why it was helpful for me to have this test project was because I had a pretty good idea of what my costs were going to be. So Greg said, okay, you have to do this cash flow projection. And I'm like, do I have to? Can you do it for me, please? Please? He said, no. I tried to bribe him. I told him, I can write, I'm a really good writer. I said, I'll write whatever you want. You'll just do the numbers for me? And he said, no, you have to do them. And he was absolutely right. So fortunately, we had all these macros built into this template. And I plugged in my numbers and ran the numbers out, came back to him the next week, and at the end of this template thing that he did, we were out of business. I mean, and he looked at me and he said, is that what you want? And I said, no. So he said, go back and do it again. Which I did. And the second time I did it, it took me a lot longer than a week to come back to it, because this is when I was ferreting around the library trying to find information about how other cookie companies run the business. I came back to him with the revised cash flow projection, and at the end of that projection, we were at break-even, which in fact, after I started the business, after 3 years, we were at break-even. And what the plan did for me was provide, I mean, because I had to do all this work to get all this information, I was able to figure out the basis around which I could run a viable business. And as Dot said, when I started the business, we've gone through several changes. When I first started the business, I thought I was just making cookies and selling cookies. Then I found that I was in the gifting business, and the gifts happened to be really good cookies. Then the market went south. Everybody knows what happened in 2008 and 2009. And fortunately, in late 2008, I had already begun to develop a wholesale product, selling frozen unbaked. They're called pucks because that's what they look like. Selling frozen unbaked pucks. And what it did for me then was allow that in 2009, I had something to sell when the gift market tanked. And it has kept us going, selling at wholesale to food service, we private label cookies for Dean and DeLuca. We now have working on a shelf-stable product that we can sell in stores, which we never had before. So this is my third business model that I have had to go through in order to keep the business growing. As you have Bill and I were talking earlier, you've got to continue to grow or die. And as an entrepreneur, as a small business owner, the opportunities for creativity are almost endless. The trick is to define what your core product is, what you can do to make that sell, and then get out there and sell. So what I have learned in my 7 years of entrepreneurship is guts, smarts don't hurt. A whole lot of luck is a really big help. And hard work really makes a difference. I haven't slept in about 5 years. Learned to live sleep deprived. But I have so much fun doing what I do. I am blessed with a core staff that sticks with me and has stuck with me through the downturn. And there are some times